That was it. Short and sweet introduction. How are you guys? Oh, hang on. That was our big entry. There,
And
Renata, there.
Epic fail as per usual. But no, it's all good.
It's all good. You know what I did find? I found this from our very first vodcast. And you looked awesome in it. It was really good. Hang on. All right, there we go.
Okay, so while Anne is putting on her coronavirus mask.
Yeah, that's it. No.
Which is really, really good because you're covering everything you're not supposed to do.
Can I just say that my double chin is actually pulling down this so that this is over my mouth instead of there we go. Okay. And I'll just let them ooze out over the side. How's that?
Right.
Anyhow.
While everyone is coming on, welcome to the Frightfully Good Vodcast with your hosts tonight, Anne Rekovich from Oz Paratech and me, Renata Daniel from Newcastle Ghost Tours. And we welcome you all this evening for the letter L in our ABC of Paranormal Strangeness. And tonight we're going to be talking about
Ley Lines and Levitation.
That's right.
But Renata, you've got to move over that way a little bit more to keep our space, please, because, we can't be on top of each other. It is COVID-19 and we've got social spacings happening. So this is why we've now got
I've had a shower. Everything's fine. I'm clean. I smell good.
Now, everyone, is the sound okay? Is the vision okay? Is everything okay? Because once again, we're trying this new setup. And we're hoping that it's working. Hi, Carrie. And hi, Annie. And who else is there? Cara. And Melissa. And Lisa. And Jenny. And Michelle. Grant. Hi, Grant.
And who's looking through the square window tonight?
Now, tonight, just so we don't get confused, this is our edumacational night where we educate you. So this is not our tarot reading night. That would be on Thursday nights at 7:30.
So don't start asking tarot
don't
questions.
Ask questions. Hi, Mick. Now, what's been happening, Renata? Not much.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
What ghost tours have you done this week?
None.
But you did sneak out and go for a little walk to visit your parents in the cemetery, didn't you?
Yes, I did, because I've got a newfangled camera, and I did sort of have a bit of a wander around just to...
Thanks, Megan.
Just to sort of try it out and test it out, and boy, it's fantastic.
Oh my God, it's 4K, it's really good.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed. I bought one too.
So we're all ready for when we start, but who knows when that is going to be.
Carrie's looking through the round window, you'll be pleased to know.
Oh, thank you. Hello, children. So tonight we are
thank you, Melissa.
certainly
doing
a vodcast, but we are also taping a podcast. So we will kind of stop midway through so that I can stop the recording and then start for the second half, because we do the podcast in two different parts for people to listen to if they can't watch us live and watch all of this wonderfulness that's coming to you.
Oh no.
And I hope we can entertain you a little bit tonight, because hands up anyone who thinks that it's a little bit boring at the moment. It's safe but boring. But boring.
I'm enjoying a little bit of boring, to tell you the truth.
Are you?
Yeah, my house hasn't been cleaned in about 25 years. I'm getting into all the nooks and crannies.
Oh, I have to say I'm trying to do everything that I possibly can other than cleaning, because it's just... I think if I move one thing every day, that will be enough for me. I'll kind of go, that's over there now. It's found its space. It's all good.
Yeah, well, this is the thing I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to find a space where things live. So then I don't have to think about, where will I put this? So vodka? We sound like we're saying vodka.
Vodcast.
Oh, vodcast. I wish it was vodka. Hi, Craig. Who else have we got on there? Sue there. Streaming's better quality on YouTube for anyone who'd like to switch over to YouTube and watch from there. Let me know where you're watching from now. Are you watching from Facebook or from YouTube? And also let me know where you're from. what town are you from? What country are you from? Because I know we have people all over the place. And no cards tonight. No, that's right, Mick. Did you want a card, my love?
Yeah, sorry, Mick. Come back on Thursday.
Working more in aged care. Yeah, I really miss working in aged care. I miss all the beautiful people that I worked with. I was a music humour therapist in aged care, and I used to go in and make a nuisance of myself for everybody, but it brought so much joy to so many people. So, never mind.
Now she just makes a nuisance of herself around me.
Yep, absolutely. I've been annoying her with numbers. We have our free.
I want to be a ghost hunter, and where do I start? Workshop.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to do 50,000 things.
Tomorrow night.
And it's tomorrow night, and we can only hold 95, and we've just hit 70.
Yay.
Oh my heavens. I was going to be happy if we made it to 25, and we are at 70. So there is only 25 places left. So please, if you would like to join us for that hour tomorrow night, you better get onto the Eventbrite and sign in so that you will get sent the link. Oh my God, I hope this works. It's the first time we've done it. But anyway, Renata, shall we get on to what the thing is now? If you've got questions as you're going or want to add little stories in, I'm going to do my best to keep up with the live feed here, which is why my eyes keep going down here because I've got a computer. So Renata, please tell us about ley lines. I wasn't even sure if there was any in Australia because I didn't really understand the whole. I know of ley lines, but I don't know much about them.
Well, look, I really don't know much about them either. I have obviously been Googling, Dr. Google, to find out some information, but I have to say that ley lines weren't or are not my speciality at all. I'm sure there are people out there who really love to hear about ley lines and know much more than I do. So
I know we like to visit places on ley lines.
Yeah, I thought what I'd do is I'd actually look at sort of a paranormal version of this after trawling through some information where I kind of went, no, it's not really happening for me. It's not really anything that, really.
Well, Sherry's very excited. She says, tell me about ley lines.
So I've actually gone to a book by our wonderful Jeff Belanger.
Oh,
remember Jeff Belanger?
Yes.
Yeah, and he actually has a great podcast at the moment. I can't remember what it's called.
He also has a website called Ghost Village, which he's got great stories and stuff on there. So look it up, Ghost Village, Jeff Belanger.
We met Jeff Belanger many years ago when he came out to Australia.
We might have been catching up to Jeff Belanger in 2 months' time, but never mind.
Don't scratch that wound.
Don't.
Okay, all right.
Just don't.
So let me read through some of this, and some of this might make a little bit more sense to you. According to an ebook, which is called Paranormal Encounters, a look at the evidence by Jeff Belanger, the term and concept of leys or ley lines first came about in 1921 by Alfred Watkins, an amateur archaeologist.
Oh, sorry, a what?
An amateur archaeologist.
Okay.
Right. Watkins noticed that some ancient sites fell into an alignment and thought that there may be a connection between them. According to ancient wisdom, ley lines are straight, often geometric alignments that run across ancient landscapes, connecting both natural and sacred prehistoric structures together. So if you're a believer in the supernatural and or the mystical side of life, an intersection of ley lines could be the source of a supernatural phenomenon. Now, we hear a lot about ley lines and the energy that sits upon them in a lot of European history. So, of course, they believe that Stonehenge is on a ley line, and the pyramids are on a ley line.
She's got the upper ends at the Stonehenge.
And so this is where the idea that this potent energy sits on these particular sites, and that sites were used prior to what they might be right now, with sacred ritualistic sites and places where people prayed, and maybe there were meetings and assemblages of people such as the Druids and places like that. So they would scope out these areas that they believed had these magnetic or electromagnetic type of forceful energy, and that's where they would have these special places where, for example, like I said, Stonehenge and all of those were built. But if you ask the scientists, that's all bull crap.
Oh, it's all bullshit.
Right.
It's all bullshit.
Now, but Jeff Belanger goes on to say in Ghostbusters, for example, it's a place where extreme ghosting occurs because the ghosts can draw power from this specific spot. So, however, not everyone who believes in the supernatural believes that ley lines are an actual thing. According to Belanger's book, Paul Devereaux, author and editor...
I sucked in spit. Devereaux is a relation of mine, I'm just saying.
Okay. Author and editor of the Ley Hunter Journal from 1976 to 1996. So
hang on.
Ley, L-E-Y, not L-A-Y. Okay.
I think there's going to be a whole different story there.
No. He has discredited the existence of ley lines. According to Devereaux, ley lines, an offshoot of Watkins' term leys, was first introduced in the 1936 novel The Goat Foot God by occultist Dion Fortune.
Oh, Dion Fortune! Oh my God, we love those books, yes. And that's a lady, isn't it? Dion Fortune, yes.
And the idea caught on with people interested in the supernatural.
Okay, now we know that Dion Fortune used to write books that would sometimes have meanings in it below the surface.
Mm-hmm.
She would give knowledge without being in your face with it.
Yeah, she wrote quite a number of novels.
I'll write that name down if anyone wants to look it up.
Yep, so after researching this subject further, Devereaux realised that many of the points on Watkins' map of ley lines were really just chance alignments of points on maps, which he stated to Belanger was awkward to realise given his role as editor of a magazine on the subject.
Now, we've got a question here. Is there more activity around these ley lines?
Supposedly so. So Belanger himself believes...
Thank you, Sue. I'm glad you noticed the social distancing.
...that the term ley lines is not specific enough to describe any peculiar linear or energy feature on our planet, though he also concedes that many Earth mysteries that we need to continue to explore... this is one of the many Earth mysteries that we need to continue to explore with our open minds.
Ooh.
So ley lines is a real term used to describe geographic alignments. However, the validity of whether these lines have anything to do with supernatural phenomena has to do with your belief system.
The cover has just said here, imagine a ley line with portals. Now, there's some fireworks for ghost hunters, but that is the thought as well, isn't it? That there is actually portals along these ley lines where they intersect.
Yes. And ghost hunters will often go looking to see if whether there is a haunted spot that they're going to, or a haunted site that they are investigating, whether it may lie on a ley line. Now, you had a picture there of Australian ley lines.
Would you like me to share my screen? Okay, guys. Well, hang on. This is going to be a first. I've got to click buttons. Share screen.
I'll just have a cup of tea.
You have a cup of tea because it might... Oh, hang on. What's it doing now? There we go. Select it. That's it. And we allow. And now, if I'm really lucky, I can press that. No,
that's Jesus.
Jesus. There we are.
Go.
All right. Now, can you all see those ley lines? I'm hoping so, because otherwise I've just lost you and I can't see what's happening. All right. So, is that the one coming through Newcastle here?
Maybe. It's not actually through Newcastle. I think it's more around the Wollombi area.
And there's big action going on in South Australia.
There's a lot of action also going on around Canberra.
Okay, fair enough. So I click back now?
Yes.
And then did that work? Did you all see that? Did the screen pop up? Yay!
Another first for the old ducks.
We tried to get a monitor set up so that we could do that without having to lose the other feed, but I have to lose looking at us to be able to get that up. But that's all right.
So rather than finishing on that note, I kind of wanted to look at whether there was
Hi,
anything
Michelle.
quite specific about Australia with regard to ley lines. But I actually happened upon a story that is...
Sorry, there was a ley line going underneath the ancient Ram Inn, if I remember correctly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I think you're right, Sue.
I wanted to talk a little bit about our Australian Indigenous people and their concept of song lines, because I think this is actually quite beautiful and it can give us a greater idea of how they are so connected. I mean, we all know that there's all Indigenous peoples all over the world are so connected to their space. They're part of the world, the earth, and they all have creation stories. But I just want to read you this because I did come across it, and I think it kind of runs beautifully parallel to the idea of ley lines, which is very much more associated with overseas and England and Europe, and there's a bazillion ley lines over in America, but the whole idea of ley lines and the potency actually kind of is a European thing. So this comes from Aboriginal song lines and singing paths act of creation. So Bruce Chatwin wrote the song lines, which explores the Australian Aboriginal mythology surrounding the sacredness of the world, the creation of the world, and energetic song lines that cross the landscape. These song lines, according to Chatwin, were the labyrinth of invisible pathways which meander all over Australia and are known to Europeans as dreaming tracks or song lines, and to Aboriginals as footprints of the ancestors or the way of the law. The Aboriginals' world-created myth included the ancestors as singing the land into being. Because of this, the Aboriginal Australians believed that the entire landscape of Australia was a sacred site. One of Chatwin's informants, for example, also told him that the Aboriginal word for country and line were the same word. The Aboriginals saw the lines on the landscape as sacred topography that was sung. His informant explained how each totemic ancestor, while travelling through the country, was thought to have scattered a trail of words and musical notes along the line of his footprints, and how these dreaming tracks lay over the land as ways of communication between the most far-flung tribes. A song was both map and direction finder. Providing you knew the song, you could always find your way across country. The Aboriginal ancestors' songs were the acts of creation. Those modern Aboriginals who went on walkabout were making a sacred journey, a singing of recreation, singing the original song and walking the original path of their ancestors who created the world.
It's sort of like how sailors follow the stars to find their path. They have singing tracks, song tracks. That's fascinating. They're talking about Abermain and Wollombi here. They're back on ley lines.
Yeah. Wollombi's got a big ley line through it.
Tour start again, the Wollombi tour. Oh, they want to know when your Wollombi tour is going to start up again.
When every tour starts. Who knows when, yes.
There you are. And some Atlanteans could travel very fast using, I think that's meant to be ley lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll just keep going here with this. Chatwin's primary informant describes the Aboriginal philosophy about the land as follows. To wound the earth is to wound yourself, and if others wound the earth, they are wounding you. The land should be left untouched as it was in the dream time when the ancestors sang the world into existence. So the straight line in the landscape is the result of another kind of human awareness, interacting with a differently perceived environment, and it reminds us that we have forgotten certain things. We have forgotten about our inner life. We have forgotten that the land is sacred, and we have forgotten the interaction between them both. Ley lines and their associated metaphysical connections is ancestral knowledge. Not knowledge of a particular people or tribe, but knowledge that all humans once had. This is the deepest kind of ancestral knowledge, the kind that cannot be fully eradicated by a disenchanted world. We all know of the sacredness of the land. and in some way, even if our conscious mind, in its disenchanted cultural conditioning, disallows such knowledge, we know subconsciously of the magic woven into the fabric of the land by countless generations of human ancestors that came before us. Even today, people would rather look out their window at a forest than a busy street.
This is true.
People vacate to natural places to hear the rhythmic crash of the waves or the splendour of the mighty waterfall, to feel themselves being restored and renewed.
I found that in England. When we walked in those forests, it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced.
And you needed to be there in silence.
Yeah.
There was no need.
Yeah, there was none of my normal antics going on. I went very quiet and still and quite happy to walk alone and just listen and soak up the environment. It was wonderful.
And this is actually what this says. It says, people vacate to natural places to hear the rhythmic crash of waves, splendour of mighty waterfall. It's why nature, the natural wonders of the world, have millions of tourists each year coming to witness their splendour. It is why, when I spend time in the old-growth hemlock grove, that is such a rare and wonderful place, hikers go silent upon entering. This knowledge may have been largely forgotten of in the conscious mind, but is still present with us in our blood, in our bones, and in our spirit. The ancestors whisper, it is time for re-enchanting our land. It is time for us to understand, sense, and create the subtle flows of energy upon the landscape. Now, this roadmap is clear. There is magic and sacredness in the landscape, and we can connect sacred points within it over short or long distances with both physical and energetic means. So it kind of overlaps the whole ley line idea. And so ancient people wove physical and metaphysical aspects of the sacred into their landscapes through stones, through songs, and through sacred sites. The question is, what will we create? What will we do? What does our re-enchanted world look like? Fucking shit. How do we,
looking better at the moment,
individuals, as groups, as humans, take up this work again? What a wonderful, wonderful piece of information. Just is so...
You're getting some very good comments on here too.
So profound.
People have said that it sort of touched them with what you were saying. Michelle here said she swam in a waterhole on sacred land and saw the spirit of an Aboriginal man holding a spear watching her.
Wow. Wow, what an experience.
Yeah. I feel it in my waters. It wasn't scary, just surprised as I stayed within the boundary.
Yeah.
Yes, meditation. Absolutely. But I remember speaking to that beautiful man up in...
at Prince Henry Hospital.
No, Townsville.
Oh, in Townsville, yeah.
Where you had the didgeridoo healing, which was just...
awesome.
Yeah. And speaking to him about the beliefs of the Aboriginal people, I was so stunned at how much it lined up with a lot of our beliefs in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
And I always just assumed it was two completely separate things, but it's not.
No, it's not. And when you dig deep enough, you'll find that in all cultures there is a similarity that runs through them.
Well, funny you should mention that, because that actually is going to come up in my talk on levitation.
Okay. Well, let's finish off this segment as I go and press the button to stop this particular part of our podcast. So thank you all very, very much for listening to this part. Now, don't go away.
So we'll have part 2 coming now. This is where you can run off and do a quick wee, get a drink of water. What's some fun things you guys are doing to stay sane in the house at the moment? I'm just grateful that all my kids have grown up and left home now, even though it was only 3 weeks ago. I think I would be going nuts if I had all the kids at home trying to school them and trying to work from home. How could you even do that? It would be a nightmare.
Yep, and it is a nightmare for a lot of people at the moment.
Oh,
yeah?
Yeah, Sherry, the Blue Mountains. Oh, my God, yes, there is something very special about that area as well. I would agree. What else? Oops, I skipped a few there. Yes, it's awesome in Townsville.
And I think we really have to remember that we often try and superimpose a lot of the Celtic ways of spirituality onto the landscape here in Australia. And I think it's really important to remember that we are here on this land and that it is important to use some of the knowledge of the Indigenous people here to help us in our metaphysical work.
Now, Sherry would like to know is how do you get your podcast?
It's on Podbean. And what happens is that a link will go up in a few days to that Podbean podcast, and then you can play it in your car or while you're doing the laundry or whatever,
whatever it is you do. Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that, Sue. She's doing red wine, dark chocolate, and online courses. Me too, but not the red wine. Been waiting to share with you ladies my experience in the hospital last Wednesday after surgery. I woke during the night to someone taking my pulse, but I was the only one in the room. I was so excited.
Wow.
Oh, I got goosebumps. Wow.
What hospital were you in?
Yeah, tell us which hospital. That'd be interesting. You have 5 kids under 12. Oh, Apple Cake Rumble. Oh, I'm so sorry. You heard of Finnegan? No, don't do that. I could lend you a couple of kids. No, thank you. I'm good. Beck TD, helping out the spirit world, otherwise gaming. Aha, yes, I hear a lot of people are honing their skills. Painting dogs' toenails. Testing our relationship being at home. Yes. Roman just found out that there is a bit of a cluster out at Belmont. So they've shut up the office and he is now working from home. A lot of meditation. That's a good time to do meditation too. Catherine is a psychic medium and she was putting some good information about ley lines in there.
Oh, wonderful.
All the overdue jobs, yeah.
I went to the bank down at Wallsend this afternoon and the girls were online and I'm sort of transferring some money and they've said to me, there's a cluster at Wallsend. And I've gone, oh my God, I'm here right now.
Yeah, it was big too. It was like 11 or something.
I flew back into the car and drove home.
Sanitize.
Everything. It's just wacky.
Yeah.
It's all a bit crazy, but you don't understand how much it's actually affected everything until you go out and you see all of these places closed. All of Wallsend is a very tiny little suburb, really, or the centre of Wallsend, and it's got one big RSL that sits there and a pub right next to it. And if the RSL and the pub are closed, which they are at the moment, there's nothing happening. It's just
Heidi found toilet paper. Yeah. So did my husband. He found a 48 pack, and he split it up with our daughter Hannah and left some with her. Yep. Cool. All right. So massive. It's a huge one in Cessnock. There's 20 up there. Yeah. They're just not obviously doing the right thing.
Well, on the weekend, apparently everyone was out and about and exercising. I've never seen so many people exercising in my life.
Yes.
But the idea is that you don't exercise on top of each other. And so on the weekend, it was a beautiful weekend in our area, and everyone decided to go for a walk down by the beach. And there were tons of people, which is not great at the moment because it's everyone that is catching this. It's not only the elderly, it is young people.
That's right, Mick, you were on a cruise and you had to self-isolate. Which cruise ship was it that you were on? Hope it's not the Ruby Princess. Jeez. All right, so we ready?
Okay, yep, let me just press the button. And so you'll hear an introduction again, but please, it's just because we're taping. So welcome back to part 2 of the letter L in the ABC of Paranormal Strangeness on the Frightfully Good podcast with Anne and Renata. And we are now going into the second part of the L, which is levitation, which is over to you, Miss Anne.
I don't know, you were talking so well there. I thought I'm just going to let you roll for a bit longer.
Cool.
All right, so levitation was something that I asked, could I do that one? And the reason why I did it is because I remember seeing photos of physical mediums who were levitating in seance conditions. And I couldn't find the photo I really wanted. Maybe one of you guys might be able to find it. Mm-hmm. but it was of a man in a chair who was up above the audience. He was sitting like this. But I did find some other ones, but
You found Jesus.
Well, did because look,
Jesus.
I'm sorry, Jesus is our first one who is levitating on water. I don't know if that one's come up. Did that come up?
And so wonderful because it is Easter. It's Easter.
I'll get to Jesus in a second. I think I've got to go to screen share. I don't think. Did a photo of Jesus just pop up then? I just want to know. So, levitation is the process in which an object is held aloft without any mechanical support in a stable position. Oh, that was the chair, not my butt. So it's provided an upward force, which is against gravity. So that is what essentially levitation is. So we're looking at the science of it. You can create levitation with things like magnets. If you have...
you need a bloody big magnet for us.
Yeah, no, 3 magnets. You have 1 magnet in the middle and 2 opposing forces on either side, and you'll have the magnet levitate in there, or if you get one underneath it, it will hold it above.
We're talking about magnets to lift us off the ground.
There's not enough fucking magnets in the world to lift us. Sorry, I swore.
You broke the podcasting rule.
Oh, no, that's all right. I'm allowed to swear. I'm a heathen. I'm just trying to... If there's any questions that come up there. But we have people posting that it's a hoax.
Which one?
Unless we've got... What was Greg? Is Greg back?
Oh, we got Greg back. Please. Please let us have Greg back, please.
But Judy, it's not card night tonight, my love. It's we're educating people tonight. So the other way of levitating is think of the iFly. Have you seen iFly? When I took you to Universal Studios in 2 months, I would have shown you.
Stop it! You're picking that wound again.
I know. So what it is that you have this air coming up underneath, and you're in like a parachute outfit, and they pick up and throw you, and the air. I don't reckon there's a big enough fan to hold me up. And you can you're skydiving. So you are levitating because you have a force that is lifting you up, and you are above it. So that is a form of levitation. And also hovercrafts. So they're on a thing of air as well.
Pillow of air.
Right. So that's there's other forms of levitation, but there's scientifically ones that exist. They're not fake. They're proven to be real. But levitation party, Mick. Behave never. Sorry. On COVID is a hoax. They're saying COVID is a hoax.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right. You go out there, my darlings, and you prove it to us.
So now let's go on to supernatural levitation.
Okay.
Because this is where it gets exciting. You wait till we get to
Jesus.
Religious levitation. Okay. So that's referring to floating or hovering as a supernatural ability to defy gravity and levitate in the air. Users of this ability are able to rise in the air supported only by their own willpower by suppressing the effects of gravity in their body. Now, I have more on that, but I'm going to leave it till the very end. But I wanted to get onto Christianity levitation.
I'm sure there are other religious groups.
Sorry, religious levitation.
Religious
levitation, but I've got Christianity as my first one.
Right.
This is from learnreligions.com. Superheroes in movies, television, and comic books have incredible superpowers, such as the power to fly like birds. Superman, Wonder Woman, and does Wonder Woman fly?
Yeah.
Okay. And many other characters can fly, but so can real humans sometimes. Don't tell me they got a fact wrong.
I don't know.
Well, if you can call a fact about Wonder Woman. God has given miracle powers to some saints, believers say. These supernatural abilities aren't just for entertainment. They are signs designed to draw people closer to God. And here are some of the saints who were able to levitate.
Saints levitated all the time.
know.
Saints levitated all the time.
Do you know one of my favourite TV shows?
Flying Nuns?
Yes! The Flying Nun.
Oh, you guys aren't old enough. You'll have to Google.
Oh, Sally Fields.
Yeah.
I loved her to death.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but that wasn't true levitation. She had one of those winged hats.
All right, I have to quickly share my screen, so hang in there. Why do I have to keep doing this? Entire screen, allow. Here is our first levitation. Right, there is Jesus, and he is walking on the water, and he's got lots of witnesses happening there. So that's our first levitation, and I've got to stop the screen share. So there we go, got it back. Ruined my picture earlier by accidentally pressing the wrong button. But then there's Saint Joseph of Cupertino.
Oh.
I wonder if that's where they get cappuccinos. Now, this is in 1603 to 1663, so I'm sorry, I don't have a photo. He was an Italian saint whose nickname was the Flying Friar.
Oh,
I
look.
can just see Chip Friar.
Yeah.
Oh, he was known as the Flying Friar because he levitated so often, Renata.
Oh, wow. That's just wonderful.
Joseph literally flew around the church when he was deep in prayer. Can you imagine that? You'd be sitting there and there's this flying friar going around the church.
That would be amazing.
Yes, he levitated off the floor many times while he was praying intensely, to the shock and awe of many witnesses. First, Joseph would go into an ecstatic trance during prayer.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
He was ecstatic.
Right.
And then his body would rise and fly, sending him soaring around as freely as a bird.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? Then there is Saint Teresa of Avila. Now, there were more, but I picked just a couple. She was a Spanish saint who was known for her mystical experiences, including meeting an angel who pierced her heart with a spiritual spear. Well, that sucks. Why would the angel come and do that to her? That's awful. While praying, Teresa often entered ecstatic trances. I want to learn how to do an ecstatic trance. That sounds pretty cool. And on several different occasions, she levitated in the air during those trances.
It's drugs. It's got to be drugs.
Teresa stayed airborne for as long as a half hour at a time, witnesses reported.
Wow. That's bloody awesome.
So this was in the 1500s, so sadly I don't have a picture of that one either.
You're upsetting me without these pictures.
I'm sorry.
Couldn't have there been anyone?
I do have more pictures coming.
Can someone have drawn that?
Possibly.
I could have drawn it.
I've got a drawn one coming for you.
Okay, good.
So now the next lot, it's not just Christianity. This levitation thing seems to appear, and oh my God, I've lost all the comments here. Sorry guys, because I can't talk and do the comments at the same time. You can do that if you want to. Just click on it. So all you do, don't break it, Renata. You just see how it comes up with show, and then you click the left button, and it comes up. And so that way we can see if we've got any questions. So then I got onto the Psi Encyclopedia from the Society of Psychical Research. So this is from the UK. This is their website. And it turns out this levitation stuff is everywhere. Shamanism. In the shamanic culture, levitation is thought to be involved in the journey to the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
The first shaman was said to have been closest to the gods and therefore shared much of their power, including the power to levitate. Shamanistic traditions agreed levitation and other paranormal powers, as they are labelled today, are caused by spirits. Among the Tungus people, a shaman is chained to the ground in order to prevent levitation occurring because they're just wafted off up into the sky. Father Paul Lejeune referred to levitation occurring among native Americans in Canada in the 1630s. It was all going on in the 1500s and 1600s. We're born too late, Renata.
I know. No, we lived back then.
And Australian Aborigines have reported practicing levitation as well, as some African tribes as well. On other people as well, a Zulu witch doctor witnessed levitating a man 3 feet off the ground.
Wow.
Then we go on to voodoo.
Oh, please.
In his studies of Haiti, Duchenne Gersai describes having witnessed instances of levitation that he could not explain. Now, that could be drugs. It could be. They've got some good bit of weed happening in there. As with other cases of religious levitation, these events occurred during a period of meditation and or trance. Gersai saw a woman jumping in the air and floating 12 feet in front of him. However, when he tried to photograph levitations, now we as paranormal investigators know this happens all the freaking time, his camera batteries constantly went dead. Even if he managed to take a photo with high-speed film, it came out totally black or blurred or out of focus. It always happens. Every time you try to get some sort of bit of evidence, there's a technological problem.
Yep.
And you don't get it.
So I said they got to draw it.
Please, can we just say, Anne Renata Good is Christy, right? Anne and Renata are not chained to the ground on a normal Saturday night, please. Thanks, Christy. There, all right. Now, where are we up to? Hinduism. Levitation has long been noted among Brahmins in India. It is the earliest canonical work of Hinduism, the Rig Veda. There is a reference to the sages who ride with the rush of the wind and sail through the air.
Those colours are good.
Seeing appearances spread out below.
Ooh.
Well, let's hope that's just air that's spreading out below.
What about the rope trick one? Is that part of it? You know, with the rope.
That's normally a bit of string that's pulling it up, but that's okay.
No.
That's the snake.
They get up on the
the
rope.
Yeah, yep. I haven't researched that one, Renata.
Sorry.
Thanks for that. Flavius Philostratus, in his life of Apollonius of Tyanaea, claims the Apollonius visited India, where he visited Brahmins at a temple. They first bathed and anointed themselves with a certain drug.
Okay, we're going down a long and rocky road here.
And, okay, you're going to like this bit. With their rods uplifted, struck the earth, which heaving like the sea wave raised them into the air 2 cubits high. He also mentioned that the Brahmins did not boast about their powers. Modest people. A fact confirmed by later visitors. In yogic tradition in Hinduism, unusual abilities are said to manifest themselves. Although practitioners are discouraged from viewing these abilities as a source of pride, they can serve to indicate progress towards enlightenment. So if you start finding yourself floating towards the ceiling, you are heading towards enlightenment.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the ladies on here actually said that her dad can do yogi jumps.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, stop, I'm going to pee my panties. Oh, don't say that word. I hate that word. Oh, hi, Jose. How are you? Everyone's saying hello to Jose. He's become a favourite. Do you remember the other thing at school? Levitation. I used to do this all the time. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. And you'd all get your finger underneath the person that was laying on the ground like this. And you'd all chant, light as a feather, stiff as a board, and that person would raise up into the air. And then the idea was you're meant to let go and they'd float. They didn't, they just fall. But who remembers doing it?
Did they ever raise up?
Yes.
Did you ever get anyone to raise up?
Hell yeah. Many, 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 many times.
I went to a Catholic school. None of that shit happened.
I went to a Catholic school. That shit happened all the time behind the hall, including smoking cigars and drinking alcohol.
Well, a lot of things happened in your school.
But you're older than me.
Shut up.
Okay, so there's a lot of comments going on there, but I'm just going to. Where are we up to? Buddhism and Taoism. There have been witness reports of some Buddhists levitating. See, it doesn't belong to a particular religion. However, as in Hinduism, Buddhist levitators discouraged from doing so in public and are instructed to remain humble about their ability. There's no documented contemporary examples, but there was a reference to the Tibetan yogi Milarepa from 1052 to 1135. So again, sorry, no photos. No video, including references to his ability to fly over vast distances. All right, are we ready for the next bit? Islam. I'm going there. Levitation is widely mentioned in Islamic literature, where it is referred to as flight. Among those said to have flown are the Prophet Muhammad, the 12th century Persian dervish Haydar, followers of the Sufi Hamadani Kasahuruya, and the 9th century Muslim saint Abu Yazid al-Bestami.
Oh, you did so well.
I apologise to all those of Islamic faith that I've just destroyed their saints' names. Spiritualism.
Carrie, yes, I did. I went to a Catholic school with nuns with long habits and canes. I did.
Me too. And my picture, you'll like this. Who watched the show on ABC the other night about those pedophile priests? Did anyone watch that?
Let's bring that up now.
Let's bring it up right now.
Let's deal with that.
Did you see those
that
poor
it's all
boys?
the way up to the Vatican. Let's deal with that as well.
Scott and Gerald, and they put up the lovely class photo of everybody with me right in the middle of the class photo.
You were looking down. You're going, no, I'm not
I
here.
know.
Not here.
Let me just tell you, it was a bit of a shock to be watching the show on pedophile priests, and up pops your photo. And I had no idea, and it's really gutting to know that those boys in my class, and there were 6 of them, there's only those 2 that have spoken, that have come forward and spoken. And good on you guys. Let's hope that we just rip these assholes to shreds. Not being nice there.
I'll help. I'll help.
I'll provide some broken glass and a razor blade. Anyway, let's get on to a happier thought, shall we?
I'm in.
Spiritualism. Modern spiritualism itself, part of the Christian... Hello, what? Modern spiritualism, it's part of a Christian tradition.
It was until it was outlawed. Like everything else, it was good.
Offers the case of medium D.D. Home. No, that was
Douglas.
Daniel Dunglass, who attributed his psychokinetic powers to God. Home was seen to levitate objects, so maybe in the day he would have been the flying friar. If he would have gone into the church, he would have been a flying friar.
He could have.
I
think he drank too much whiskey.
Home was seen to would levitate objects including pianos and tables with people sitting on them in good light and often by multiple witnesses in surroundings with which he was unfamiliar. He was also said once to have floated out of an upper story window at night and back in through another.
Very famous.
Yeah.
Very, very
dramatic
famous.
testimony, which, however, was vulnerable to criticism and weakly supported.
Any photos?
I've got a drawing. Here we go. I'm going to share. So here we go. For the people on the podcast, I wish it would just remember this decision, but it won't. Entire screen, allow, and then we're going to go over to, not that one. No, not that one. It's, of course, the very last one. There he is. He's in this photo. You'll see that he is cleaning the ceiling And the people
He's
down
dancing
below,
on the ceiling.
yeah, the people down below are worried that he might wet his pants and they're going to get wet by the looks of them. Is that blowflies around there as well? I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, that is supposed to be a picture of him doing his thing. So I'll stop screen sharing now. Hope you enjoyed that little drawing. As you can see, I've done a lot of work. My question, Renata, is...
No.
If it can be replicated...
Yes.
Does it mean it was faked?
Well, this is a problem, because the moment you do something once, it can really destroy the evidence that you have of other people doing it that may have been correct and without any sort of,
But what I'm saying is they're not faking it. If it's legitimate phenomena,
yeah,
that someone says, I can work out how that can be done, how that could be faked, does it necessarily mean they faked it?
No.
And this is why, with the phenomena that's being produced, that nobody is ever going to believe what they see is real. Everyone is always going to assume that it is faked. Now, we have actually had our table levitate. And that was just the four of us. There was Renata, myself, Roman, my husband, and Arek, Renata's husband. And actually, I can get the table. It's right here. Fill in, Renata.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the actual table that it occurred with. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. There, it's happening right now in front of your eyes.
The podcast, I apologise. It is an oval-shaped table with a single shaft and 3 legs. So what happened was, we're all sitting here like this. The table's on the ground, and the table started to rock violently. So it was going like back and forth and round in circles. And then all of a sudden it came up in the air, and you could feel it was no longer on the ground. It did a figure 8 a couple of times and then came back down to the ground.
Yeah.
And I trust the people in the room that I was working with. I know they did not fake it. And hopefully they feel the same way about me.
I screamed like a little girl.
Yeah, we did. We're going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And we've had some similar things happen, but that was the most obvious levitation. We've been begging for it ever since. Never mind. We'll wait. We're patient, aren't we? Right, so that's spiritualism. Yeah, we've done that. Demon possession.
I was waiting for it. Here we go. All right, I'm ready.
Levitation is often associated with demonic possession, says me with the hiccups, such as the case study of Paul described in Malachi Martin. Don't know what that is. Anyway, in a well-known case in 2012, now this is not that long ago. I'm sorry, I've been yelling too much. LaToya Amons of Gary, Indiana, claimed that her children were demon-possessed. I bet many of you right now are finding your children are demon-possessed.
And that they're climbing the walls?
Yes. And that they levitated.
I remember this story.
Yes, Stafford Betty notes the widespread cultural acceptance of association between levitation and demonic possession. So it doesn't necessarily correlate, but if there is a levitation involved in a case, people just assume it's a demonic possession. Now, this is my sort of thing that came together as I was going through all of this. We have the shamans, Voodoo, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Islam, spiritualism, have all got levitation in their belief system.
And none of them speak about demons.
Yeah. But then it's your mind's bias interpreting what is happening in the situation. Some people are saying it's God-given that they're levitating.
So who's right?
Who's right?
Is it demonic or is it God-given? Which one is
Because
it?
some people would see someone levitating in their room, no understanding what's going on, and go, "Oh my God, it's a demon!" And the fear that you would put into your home and everything that was going on around you would all be associated. Everything would be interpreted as a negative thing and demonic.
Mm-hmm.
What is the truth? Is levitation an actual thing? I don't know. But there are some, for the skeptics out there who think it's all bullshit, right?
Okay.
Now, with a lot of these, there is too few witnesses. And witness statements weren't written down. It's hearsay that's passed on. Oh, I know such and such who saw that happen, and that's all real. Biased witnesses. Those who believe in miracles would believe that what they're witnessing is a miracle. Those who believe it is demonic would believe it's demonic.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be looking at whatever's happening through their bias, which we all do because we've been brought up a certain way. Now, there's also what they call time lapse, where it just happened so long ago that there's no way that you can prove that any of this happened, and it could just be a really good story around the campfire from 1100.
No photos.
Yeah, inaccessible evidence. This one goes to the Vatican, where they keep their documents sealed and photos and all these possessions and things that may have happened that you can't get hold of because you're not allowed to look at them. Differing witnesses' accounts, where one person will say one thing and another person will say another thing. So who do you believe? Now, this is a good one. Mass hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And it does happen. Have you ever been to those shows? Darren Brown, I think, is really well known for being able to take his whole audience on a journey of misdirection and deception. And he does it brilliantly. If you have not watched Darren Brown shows on Netflix, watch them. It will make your mind go psh. And of course, trickery is that people are faking it either to make money or for ego or because they want to be special. Now, the parapsychologists, and this is the one I'm going to end with, they say that you're actually, it's a form of psychokinesis. It's a natural...
Jose, you are naughty.
Renata might be available, sorry. So a parapsychologist...
Parapsychologist? You've made a blush.
Yeah, they actually believe that they have the ability with their mind to make these things happen. And that's what a lot of people think with the modern physical mediums who are producing levitation and small things, that they're actually using their mind to do this because they have the ability to do things. If you think of the power of a thought can be a really powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say the Opera House started with a thought and it became a thing. So it is possible that the mind, and they have actually got scientific proof that this psychokinesis is a real thing.
Yeah.
But of course, I had to finish off with a little bit of a fun one, which I've already ruined it because I've already got the wrong picture up at the wrong freaking time, as you do. But I'm going to share screen. This one, of course, is...
You'll all know this one.
Yeah, because you've seen it already. Never mind. Janet. There's Janet, and she's at the Enfield Poltergeist house. Now, have a look at that picture. That is supposed to be a picture of her levitating in her bedroom. So you can see her clothing looks like it has lifted, like it's going up. Her hair at the back is up. So to me, it looks like she's actually jumped up off the bed and they've taken a photo. There was another photo there that I saw that was really interesting where somebody had hold of the arm. I couldn't find it again, of the one of the other girls who was levitating.
Mm-hmm. They did say that the neighbours on occasion saw the girls levitating through the windows.
This is my mind going, I'm suspicious of this because I don't know whether I just can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah. So it's all very, very interesting. All very interesting. And the problem with all of this is, like you said, there's so much skepticism that is laid onto many of these stories that it's really, really hard to try and kind of tease the truth out of it. And over time, as we all know, stories get bigger and more bolder. So you just don't know where the truth starts and the lie stops in most cases. Yeah. So interesting, very interesting.
Anyway, that is my presentation on levitation. I hope you enjoyed it.
I hope you enjoyed it. Now, everyone stay with us. Don't go.
We're going to press the magic button and end the podcast. There you go. Done. Is there any questions on that, or has anyone actually experienced levitation themselves? I would love to hear if it happened to you. That would be really cool. Oh, hi, Karen. You've jumped in at the very end. Yes, there is a lot of stories about the Enfield poltergeist, and it's hard to know what really happened unless you were there. Like we went to what was the other one? The Pontefract poltergeist house.
Yeah.
And I so wanted something to happen. Oh my God, I wanted something to be thrown at me or a bang that I couldn't explain. And it didn't happen. So then, of course, your mind goes, oh, well, it's all bullshit. It's the people next door just banging on things and still making $1 out of the house. And
the issue is that some of these things actually happen when certain people are present or while they are still in a particular site. And so the difficulty with that is that you could be dealing with something that is internal, like the psychokinesis happening, or you could be dealing with something external, which is existent within the house. Now, when those people leave, do those two entities go with them? Have in the poltergeist, Enfield poltergeist, was it a projection of the girls? Did they create a tulpa that made all of these things occur?
They were the right age,
and therefore the tulpa went with them when they left. And so the house still exists, but there's nothing really in the house other than the memory of what was happening, which can sometimes be triggered depending on who's there and what they're doing. And so there are all of these bits and pieces to a huge puzzle that we are really not sure how they all come together. We know that they do, but where these patterns intersect and how they are interwoven is the thing that is really curious. But the more I listen, I was actually listening to a wonderful podcast from Australia, which is called Mysterious Universe, and they were talking about this particular subject, and they were talking about this creation of an embodiment of an energy outside of yourself. You give it life, you make it actually live and breathe. The problem is when it starts to get a mind of its own. And they call it a tulpa, and it functions for you as that part of you. And then there's this issue that the tulpa can want to come back into you because you're drawing it out first of all.
Isn't it egregore as well?
Yep. So you actually pull a bit of energy out and create a part of you that exists beyond you. And then the issue is that sometimes that energy, yes, can get larger and can detach completely, or it may want to crawl back into you to become part of you again, to experience a living, breathing body again. And so these are all these concepts that people are thinking about at the moment and going, well, what part of all of this is paranormal, and where do ghosts, for example, sit in all of this experience that we're having, which is the ghostly or haunted experience. So
now, Sue's come up with a question here. What about levitating in your sleep? Does that count? Feels pretty real. What does it mean? So that's when people are astral traveling.
Yeah, it depends on whether you actually levitate fully with your body or whether you're feeling that your body is staying in one spot and part of you, again, leaves your body but is still connected in some way so that you can literally come back into your body after you've had your little journey.
It's that feeling where you snap back and you go, boom. And I've had it happen. It feels like you physically are falling back into the bed.
That is a different type of that's when a part of your mind is falling asleep and your body hasn't as yet.
Yeah, and it's the is it hypnagogic or the which gogic state is it?
Yeah, it's one of the gogics.
And it's your mind reacts as if you are falling because you start to dream.
Yeah.
So because your brain hasn't fully disengaged from your body will react, which is why we get they do get separated when we sleep. So we don't act out our dreams, and it still partly acts out. So you have like a muscle spasm as your body tenses to prepare for that fall.
Oh, we're not getting anybody else's things on here. Sue, you've got us stuck.
What have you done to us, Sue? That's all right. What have we got there tonight? Sponsor on there. Oh no, that's because we're on banners, my love.
Oh, okay.
So we've just done the astral traveling. We've just done that. There are movies. If anyone knows the name of it, Poltergeist.
Someone did think they had a poltergeist in their house.
That was Sarah Jean. Parents lived in a place they think they had a poltergeist. What was going on, Sarah? What sort of activity were they getting?
The last Enfield poltergeist thing was absolute shit. If you listened to an interview on one of the American shows, the gentleman there actually had Guy Lion Playfair on before he passed away, bless his soul, last year. And he actually said that the only part of that whole series, it was the last one that was made over in England, the only part of that series was really the opening, and that was it. The rest of it was all absolute crap.
Hollywood. If you would like the book, it's called This House is Haunted.
That is the best one. If you want,
it really, is by Guy
Lion Playfair, who has now passed.
Yeah.
He used to do interviews in a box. So when he was doing his interviews with his phone, he used to put a box over his head because it echoed really well.
Oh, right.
So he said, wait until I get into my studio, and then he'd pick up his box and put the box over his head and said, okay, now we can begin. But you have to go back to the sources in these things. You really do have to go back to the people who were there on the ground and examining these particular psychic phenomena to really look at the information that they have laid down to work out what is right and what is wrong. Everything else is really great stories, and they make great movies and videos.
Oh, wow. They would go home and the oven would be just warming up and the furniture would be stacked on top of each other. That's an interesting phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do, when we get to P, we'll do poltergeist.
Mm-hmm.
And clothes would be out everywhere. Wow, that's very cool.
Well, not cool for them, but
no, it would have been terrifying for them. I would have been sitting there going, show me.
Is it something that has discontinued? Because it's interesting, because they often say that poltergeist energy actually dissipates over time. It sort of rises and gets to a peak, and then it dissipates over time. Poltergeist energy is really hard to keep on a high level over an extended period of time. Yeah. It just doesn't have the energy in it. It literally wears everybody out around them. So, it would be interesting to know how long that lasted for and whether it reached a peak and then dissipated over time.
We've actually gone over time, so we'll crack on with ley lines. Do you think we make these ley lines of energy, or are they standing pools of energy that exist anyway?
The suggestion is that they are energy lines that are there. We add to it by, if we are there, obviously, and we use them for prayer and ritual, then we add to the energy in those particular spots. But ley lines exist or existed prior to sort of us having anything to do with it.
And Maxine has seen an ashtray thrown across the room.
Oh, nice.
I hope it wasn't full. That would have been messy to clean
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the show. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give us some hearts up. Please make sure that you've liked our page. So we've got about 500 people who are following who have forgotten to like our page. Very interesting.
People?
And one of the either Sophia or Veronica, one of them hadn't liked our page, but were following us. I'm going to have to check on them. So just go up there and have a look and see if you've clicked on it. If you're on YouTube, please click subscribe and follow so you get the message when we are live. We will be on
Tomorrow night.
So
if you love ghost hunting and want to know about how you can get into it, we are going through the very basics of it, but it will be on tomorrow night on Frightfully Good here, and you can learn a little bit more about that. Probably only about 20 odd places left.
Yeah, maybe less at the moment, because I've just noticed there's a lot of tickets that have just gone out. It is free. It is totally free. We are not flogging things. It is just something we are doing because we get asked so often. We thought we'd just do it as a
plus we've got lots of time now.
We will later on be doing courses where we will do an in-depth one of those, but this is just a very general one, and it only goes for an hour. There are 74, so there's 21 spots left.
Ooh, right. And don't forget, Thursday night we will be having our live tarot. So from about 8:30 to about 9:15. So you can come back and ask your questions then. And we'll be there to answer them. And what we promised this time was to really kind of look at your loved ones in spirit to see whether they have any messages for you. So I'll actually be using the tarot cards to deliver messages from your loved ones.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
It will be.
So everyone stay safe, stay home. Don't go out unless you absolutely have to. Wash your hands, especially after you've done a big poo. She loves me. You all know that. And we will see you all on the dark side. Bye.
Bye.
Now I'm going to work out how to stop it and broadcast. Yes.